name's Cameron Crumley. Everyone calls me Crum. I'm a visual artist and a musician and a writer, a filmmaker. I'm from Georgia, Roswell, Georgia. It's like a suburb north of Atlanta. And I live in Chicago. I've lived here for 3 years. I started reading comics when I was younger, like in the paper. And my parents had like The Far Side and stuff like that. And I would just read comics. And I think when I was a little bit older, I got into like manga and all that other stuff. But I was like, this doesn't look that involved. And I watch cartoons too. So it was just always something that I enjoyed like consuming. And I was like, I don't know, this Charlie Brown isn't like that complex of a drawing. So, I just started doing it like that. I would just draw during class, just like focus. And then I just, people get video games for Christmas. I'd get like sketchbooks. So I just kind of like that's what I did. When I was in elementary school, I started like a little comic book company with my friends. We like made like 2 or 3 issues of a comic book, just like staple notebook paper together. Pencil, pen and ink, watercolor, and gouache. I do like figure work or like drawing work, and I basically do what I'm trying to do with pen and ink with gouache, which is like, but it's just different because you can't go over things too many times when you're inking it, or else you will just like tear up the paper. I use gouache because I can do like detail work. It can get it really thick. I can like, get it like really flat. I can do whatever I want, but I can also thin it out. And I think the biggest influence on my style was probably the cartoonist Robert Crum, which like, I'm not gonna lie, like what I heard, I was like, oh dude, that's like people call him like R. Crum, and I was like, you know what? My last name's Crumley, I'm just gonna go with it. Up until that point, I would draw in pencil, and then I would like shade things with pencil, and sometimes go over it with like ink, but I didn't really do any shading. I didn't really like use color at the time. But his was the first work that I saw that used hatching, and it's very detailed and it's very good. And I was like, oh, there's like a different way to like make visual art, or like a different way to like use this medium. And it was a comic, which is the other thing. So I don't know, I think that's probably like the biggest influence. Do a lot of research and like studying art history, but I don't like, I feel like the closest thing that I would have is like probably like outsider art or something, only because I'm like self-taught, and I feel like, I don't know, that's a title people put on artists who like are self-taught.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I do it because I study it. I see a thing and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, this looks cool. I could probably figure this out. So I feel like that just requires a lot of research. And so I study like all kinds of art, but I don't really identify with any like art movement because I don't know. I don't know. Will they let me? I have no idea. Like for a grant or something, or for like a gallery show or something like that, I feel like that's been the biggest hurdle. It's not like I don't have work. It's just like people are like, oh, can you like describe your work to me? I'm just like, no, like no. I just like, I do it. I don't know. What you just look at it? Like I don't. And I think that's I think people want artists. I do think it's not a bad thing. It's not enough to just be good at this. You also have to be able to like craft a certain narrative and like present yourself like this. And the questions that I'm interested in answering and like telling people is just like, no, man, like I used a T-square because like I don't like I feel like I don't know how to talk to certain people about art, especially like the institutions at large.
Yes.
Because the things that they're interested in hearing from me are not what they put a premium on. I'm interested in the art as work. Like I think about like people talk about like cars or kind of engine and like these tires. I like that's how I feel about art. I'm just like, oh man, I use like this like layer of gouache. I put like painter's tape on it, came out like really flat. It's like I'm like studying like all sorts of different kinds of things and like researching different materials. I like would skip school and go to the High Museum in Atlanta, and I would look at paintings that were like, there's just like these like small like 8x10 paintings, like oil paintings from like 100, 200 years ago. And it's just like pastoral scenes, but they're just like really detailed. Like they're just like, it's like a mountain or like a waterfall. And I was looking at it like, I would just get really as close as you could. Like from a distance, you're like, oh yeah, this is like a mountain face. Or this is like a waterfall. And you get close and it's just like, oh no, like that's a streak of white. That's a streak of blue. Like this is like this kind of technique. And then like, I don't know, that's how I've always learned.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's always what's interesting to me. I like the way atlases look. I like the way things look, and I just like looking at stuff because I've had a lot of different jobs, and I feel like at a certain point I was working in manufacturing, and it dawned on me that like all the things that we have are like processed in a way. Like it's just like this is how it works, and I think that ever since that happened, I look at like most things and I'm just like, oh cool, like this is like designed, like everything is like designed, and I feel like that just helped me like look at different things. And I've always liked looking at stuff, especially like history books and like encyclopedias and atlases, because like they're cool. It's like a cool thing. But I guess I didn't realize until later that I was like, oh yeah, someone like renders this mountain or like draws this like lake or whatever. Found some like older, I think it was probably like they stopped using them in the 2000s, but like it was when computers first started to generate a lot of stuff, and they started like printing. Well, they've used it from like the 70s until the mid-aughts, but it was like it's just like a computer rendered way of doing things that's like shadow based as opposed to color based. Because a lot of the times when they use like altitude maps, it's like they use like lines, like longitude or lines to indicate height, which is what I was initially interested in, and then they also use color. But I found this other projection, and I just like work with that. That's like how I make art. I'm just like, I don't know, this seems cool. Like here are these like, and the reason I was into the 3D aspect of it is because I think because it's jarring to the eye, it's hard to look at. Like if you wear 3D glasses and you look at a 3D thing, it like jumps out at you. But if you don't, it's actually physically painful to look at. And anagrathic, I think it's called, projection, which is like a 3D form of projection. It just combined those two things when I did this art series, and people responded to it. But yeah, I wanted it to hurt to look at, and I'm always trying to think of new, harder, more difficult things to make. If I was at a gallery show, I would like not introduce myself or like lie about what my name was, because I would just want people to just like tell me what they thought of the art. Part of the thing about being self-taught is that you don't learn a lot of things, so your art isn't technically good until a certain point. I know I like it, but I feel like I'm more interested in seeing if other people like it. Not just like it, but like if they have a response to it, or you know, I wouldn't know what people think, but there's not like, I'm not like people need to be moved or people need to be like afraid or they need to learn something. It's made me reevaluate a lot. I mean, initially it was like really bad. It was really bad. But now I think it's a lot better. I feel like there were a lot of things that I thought were really important that I just didn't have access to anymore. And I could still draw. I could still make music. There was no limit on that. And I think that has been very, for my mind, I think it's brought me peace. There's a lot of things that I just can't do. But this is something I can do, and this is something that I can do as hard as I want. Like I can be as crazy as I want, you know? Because it doesn't support me, for better or worse, I feel like it's also liberating because I can just like, I can express myself, but I can just spend time with it. It's a good way to spend time being creative, thinking about ways to be more creative, thinking about ways to go farther, you know, thinking of different ways to like put a puzzle together art-wise. And I think that it's liberating because it's healthier for me than, I don't know, watching television all day. Or I did at the beginning of quarantine, I would just like sleep like 5 days a week, like all day. All this here is gouache. So that's like, and this is another reason I like to use gouache, is just like, you can get these like weird shapes. I was like, oh, what's an optical illusion like?
Oh, cool.
This is my least favorite art series that I've done. Like, I was like reading about like tachyons, and I was messing with perspective, how to do a landscape that I was interested in making.
Cool.
So this was printed up, and we sold them around the city. This is a very fun piece. Just like comic stuff, you know? What are they called? They're books that are full of spells, and I forget the name of them. Full of like pictures and like runes and like all that other stuff. Grimoire. It's called a grimoire. I was like, what's my version of like an ancient mystical deity?
Cool.
So it's that. It's like a series that was sort of based around that.
Awesome.
But like formatted like a mid-century instruction manual. Something that was just like fun. So it was, it was just fun. And then on the back, because paper's expensive, here's one. It's a little beat up because it's hard to store things. Again, this is the other reason I use gouache. Is like I'm just obsessed with like this. Like I drew all this, and then I was just like, all right, cool. I'm gonna like tape this up, and I'm gonna make like the thickest layer of gouache. That's like so much so that you can like see that you can just like see that it was raised off the page. Yeah, that's why I use gouache, for that effect specifically. There's a song called Neon Hides by this band called Hawks that I really like.
Cool.
And there's a line that says, "Give me a place to go, you'll never see me again." And that's it. I just listened to it the whole time I made this. If I'm dissatisfied, then like I still learned something, but I don't quit before I finish the series because then you don't learn anything. Oh no. Oh no.
Okay, dude.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you asking.
Okay.